Hi, this is David. This is about my 5th or 6th attempt at doing an audiobook for Rise of Hawk. So, Rise of Hawk by David and Androgen. And the dedications are: the Time Speaker universe is dedicated to every single person who has been harmed or killed because of bigotry and hate, and to every single person fighting against oppression for a better world, one where everyone has a place to belong. And to Rick McGowan. This whole publishing thing would never have happened without you. Thank you. We have a lexicon. TSU has been created alongside a constructed language, so that many people and place names are written in this language. If you're reading the text without hearing me, the basic pronunciation guide would be that any double vowel, for example, the name Lelan, the double vowels mean an elongated or stressed vowel. So instead of being Lelan, it's Lelan. Stress on the an, because it's double vowels. The A sounds are generally pronounced the same as in father, not cat. So not air. The O sounds are generally the same as the first O in the word Boston or sock, and not the O that rhymes with toe. And the E sound or e sound are generally the same as an egg, and where it's written as an E with a diacritic mark above it is the elongated and stressed version. I use this particularly for making a separate syllable, such as the swear phrase Abe Kashan. Even though it's spelt like Abe Lincoln, it's actually spelt said Abe, as in 2 syllables. Here are some swear words. Haida or Haidachena. This is the same meaning as the shit has hit the fan. So in a general sense, haida is a replacement for any kind of swearing when something goes wrong. Nuthen or Nuth, it's like hell, or Hades, or any other place that's particularly unpleasant for the dead. Akinan, Akena, or Aken is generally a gendered replacement for insults that are specific to a gender. And I'm not going to use the words because they're offensive. But if you want to call someone something offensive and specifically to do with their gender, Akenan is for men, Akena is for women, and Aken are for androgen folks. And that's using the suffixes from the constructed language, Ranka. Kitasa-faced, this replaces shit-faced, and can only be used in the context of being extremely drunk or extremely high, as in you're completely out of your mind on a substance. It can sometimes mean someone who's very mentally unwell, but there's no... It's like in Time Speaker, old Anna. She's catastrophized a lot because she's not connected to reality. But it's more about being connected to reality than insanity, if you know what I mean. It's just someone's really, really high. The next one is Mara, which is, it literally means this moves me. So it's a replacement for when you see someone say holy crap or wow, or it's literally a thing that says this is amazing or this is huge, or you get that feeling inside you feel moved. That's what mara means. The next one is mamon, and this is a direct replacement for bullshit. The actual translation is actually people poo, to be specific. But it's only used in the context that you'd say bullshit. as in you're describing something as being a lie or rubbish. It's not an insult to call someone. And pleta is the name of a cucumber in Ranka. It's actually pareta is the original word, and it's a cucumber vine that climbs up things. So the plant climbs to the highest point, again on something, like if it's growing up a building, it'll grow up to the highest point of the building, and that's where the cucumbers grow, and they get ripe, and then they drop and they smash. So the image is that it's there's no reason. It's infuriating to try and pick them before they go smash for food, and it makes no sense, at least from a person point of view. Obviously, as a vine, it gets all the seeds on the ground. So as a swear phrase, as an insult, pleta means either someone acting without common sense or someone who's being particularly obnoxious. Originally it was a replacement for insults of a phallic nature, like knobhead, which is one of my favourites, or for those who do or say things without common sense or social practical intelligence. It is absolutely never an insult for people who have developmental issues or low intelligence. It is for neurotypical people who act obnoxiously or don't use their common sense. It's for the people that should know better but don't, or refuse to. Okay, the next one is sothen. This is generally a replacement for the F word, except it's only as an expletive. Only something goes wrong and you're sothen. It's not used in any other context that you use the F word, which is a very mobile word, really. It actually translates as infinite chaos and anarchy, which within the greater culture of the Aramanan species is a really offensive concept. A world without order is chaos, anarchy. It's unfathomable and bad. So it's why it's a more offensive word. The next phrase is abe kashan, as I mentioned before. It's a replacement for oh my god, or oh my gods, or any other sort of religious swear. It translates as by the founder, essentially, because the founder is one of the main figures in their major religion, at least on planet Shadow anyway. And the last sort of swear phrase is tokato. That's the old version of oh my god. It's used almost exclusively by those who are from the hidden nation of Haven, or adherents of the old temple of the founder. So they have 3 genders. The third gender is androgen, and so there are a few words to encapsulate that. The pronouns are they, their, them, with a Z or Z, depending on your dialect of English. So they replaces he, she, their replaces hers, his, them replaces him, her. And the androgen titles, Isha is an androgen romantic partner, same as wife or husband. Mana is an androgen parent, or a parent of another gender who has self-seeded children. So if there's a character who's a hermaphrodite but is male or female gendered, the child, if they produce a child without having someone else adding to the genetic material, that child will call them mana, even though, or can call them mana, even though they could call them the other gendered name for parent. So a child that was self-seeded could call the female parent mother, mum, mama, whatever, or mana. Misha is an endearment. It's for androgen family member, like a cousin or an aunt or uncle or other close family friends. It means family. Shan is the androgen version of Sir Ma'am, generally with a more military sort of level of rank. And the word Sessa is the androgen version of lady or lord, as in an androgen with noble blood. And there's a dramatis persona on our ebook, but I'm not going to go through that because it's lots and lots of words that you may not retain. There are 2 quotes at the beginning. Victory is not as simple to define as you'd expect. It's not just a case of win or lose. Sometimes the greater the victory, the greater the loss in achieving it. And this was written by Tom Marie, who is Ngā Marie's great-grandfather, on the 19th of Arakan, 2019. The next quote is, "My grandmother once told me that the great fates, the great guardians of time, are weavers. What they weave is a huge unfinished tapestry that is time, and each thread is one person and their lives. A time speaker is a thread that the fates have put into the weaving deliberately to moderate those threads around them and to keep the tapestry from breaking apart. Through the time speakers flows the intention and power of the fates," said by Nalana Yen. In the year of our founder, 3004. Part 1. Scene 1. 19th of Arakan 3000. The city of Aram, country of Arana, planet Shadow. A cobbled ochre footpath, decorated in curving spirals, led across the road and into the northern entrance of Star Mall. Waiting for the cross signal, Asha glanced warily up and down the street. There were neither cop cars nor agency vehicles on the road, and no visible blue suit agents on the footpaths either. It looked like just another normal autumn day in Aram. The traffic light buzzed above her, and she stepped off the curb, crossing the gentle red curves into the mall entrance. She touched the baby's back through the fabric of the material sling she wore. It was quite a risk for them to go into a public mall, especially unarmed, but it couldn't be helped. Baby Temper needed a diaper change and feeding, and Asha couldn't do that on the street. The automatic doors opened, and she stepped into the warmth. She looked around. Inside was busy and brightly coloured. There were flashing screens everywhere advertising various name brand products, and people walking in all directions over the shiny stone floor. For a moment it was disorienting in the solitary chill of the street. From the solitary chill of the street. To her right, an escalator rose up to the next level. On her left, the smells of coffee and food wafted towards her from a cafe and made her stomach grumble hungrily. Ahead of her, lines of clothes and shoe stores filled much of the mid-distance, and further ahead, where the walkway curved out of sight, she saw a blue oval sign hanging from the ceiling with Baby World written on it in pink. Dodging shoppers, she strode towards the store while keeping a wary eye out for security. She smiled as she neared the baby store. Lady Luck, Krenna, the summer patron, must be watching her back. In front of the store entrance, a wire specials basket held packs of diapers of all sizes, which made them much easier for her to steal. And even better, some careless shopper had dropped a smaller sized pack on the ground. Excellent, she thought. Hooking the plastic-wrapped diaper pack with her shoe, she kicked it out of visual range of the counter and bent to grab it. As she stood upright again, she felt a wave of prickling static travel from her feet, up her spine and over the back of her skull, leaving in its wake a deep sense of dread and danger that pointed behind her. Dropping the diaper pack and pulling her hand over the baby's head protectively, she vaulted sideways over the middle aisle of seats and potted plants, and landed behind the cover of a large palm tree. He was a blue suit agent, and his weapon was already aimed. With her normal shopper cover blown, there was no reason to hold back. She kinetically gripped the palm tree in front of her, lifting it up off the floor so that it hovered for a moment in the air between them. Using her rage to fuel the thrust, she threw it hard at the agent. He fired his weapon and shattered the crockery base, but it wasn't enough to stop him from getting a metre-tall palm tree to the head. The agent and plant fell back onto the stone floor. The man landed hard with his head at an odd angle. A dark earth spread over him and the white marble floor. She looked around, sprinting for the crowds of people at the entrance of a large department store. As she ran, she put her hand under the baby sling to touch Temper's back, and very gently ducked into the baby's mind. It was sensible that she had to use a telepathic sleep program, but she still felt a little stab of guilt. If their lives weren't at stake, she wouldn't force Temper to do or be anything except herself. But combat was no place for a young baby to be awake, least of all a sensitive, untrained empath. Asha headed through the entrance. Inside the department store, crowds of people moved slowly with trolleys and children running around, all of which seriously complicated her ability to move quickly into the middle of the store. She got half the distance she would have had the place been empty before gunfire sounded at the entrance behind her. Asha ducked under the cover of some shelving and glanced behind her. In their panic to get out of the way, many distressed shoppers pushed uselessly against each other. Some fell, others clambered over the fallen, and all half-blocked the entrance with chaos and civilian bodies. Asha grinned. The agents weren't legally allowed to kill civilians, so this situation would complicate things for them. Turning away, she ran while adeptly dodging people and random displays, making a beeline for the nearest wall and hopefully the staff exits. A weapon fired from behind and towels fell from the shelf right next to her head. She flinched and jumped sideways behind a tall metal display of white crockery platters. Icy calm and focused, she waited. She sensed two blue suits as they ran towards her. Their fear made them easy to sense without looking. With such poor emotive control, they had to be low-rank agents. A wry smile twitched around the edges of her mouth. Easy to take out, she thought. As they neared her location, she held the baby with one arm and gripped the top of the display with her free hand. Asha used her kinetic ability to lift her up, flipping sideways over the top shelf and landing right between the two agents. They cried out, stepped back in an attempt to fire their weapons, but not fast enough. She took one man's gun as she dumped him onto the floor with a little twist of his wrist, and turned to throw a forceful palm blow to the second one's sternum with a satisfying crack. The two agents lay on the floor, both unconscious, defeated. For a moment she looked down at them. A dark expression drifted into her blue eyes. Lifting the agent's weapon, she put a bullet in both of them. Dropping it next to their bodies, she continued her dodging sprint across the marble floor. She didn't get far before the security guard ran towards her down the aisle with a stick in his hands. Without pausing for even a second, she disarmed him and, pulling the guard into a throw, she insinuated his telepathic sleep program into his unprotected mind. She shoved his half-conscious body into a pile of towels out of the way and continued running. Gunfire sounded to her left, and she took cover behind another tall metal shelf. Eyes flitting around her, she searched frantically for an escape route, and upon finding none, she looked up. Asha skipped up the levels of metal shelving with the help of her kinesis, and flipped sideways onto the top shelf, with her back close to the ceiling and baby still tucked safely into the sling under her chest. Careful not to knock the 3-metre-tall shelving over as she changed position, she hooked her fingers under the ceiling panel, lifted it, and pulled herself into the roof space.